Good morning, students. So in this class we are studying the next topic, that is the mechanism of breathing. So here breathing consists of the two steps, that is inspiration and expiration, or even you can call them as inhalation and exhalation. So what is inspiration? Inspiration is the atmosphere air which enters to our lungs, or you can even define it as the atmospheric air is drawn inside the lungs. Then expiration is the alveolar air is released out. Alveolar air is released out means the air present in the alveolar will be released out to the atmosphere. Inspiration means the air present in the atmosphere is drawn inside, means it is taken inside to our lungs. So here what you can observe is, in the inspiration and expiration you are seeing the movement of air entering to our lungs, and the same air will be released out from the lungs to the atmosphere. So this movement of the air inside and outside, it is observed mainly due to the pressure gradient. So this pressure gradient, it is mainly caused in between the lungs and atmosphere. So what is this pressure gradient? Pressure gradient means it is the change in the concentration of molecules, gases in between the lungs and atmosphere. So in this topic mainly you are studying who are causing the inspiration and expiration. So before I start with the inspiration and expiration, who is responsible for causing this inspiration and expiration? So in this topic there are few terminologies. We get familiar with those terminologies so that next part when I continue it will be very easier. So in that the first one is intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure means the pressure within the lungs. The pressure which is caused inside the lungs is called as intrapulmonary pressure. Then the second one is atmospheric pressure. The pressure which is caused in the atmosphere is called as the atmospheric pressure. Then the next terminology is pulmonary volume. Pulmonary volume means the volume of the lungs or the size of the lungs is called as pulmonary volume. Then the next one is thoracic volume. Thoracic volume means the volume of the thoracic chamber, the size of the thoracic chamber. So these are the four terminologies where we will be using in this topic repeatedly. So that's why be familiar with these four terminologies. So next, the diaphragm and specialized set of muscles. Which are the specialized set of muscles? External and internal intercostal muscles present in between the ribs. So in between the ribs there are presence of external and internal intercostal muscles. These generally they are called as the specialized set of muscles. So the diaphragm and specialized set of muscles helps in the generation of pressure gradient between the lungs and atmosphere. So before only I said the movement of air in and out is caused due to the pressure gradient between the lungs and atmosphere. So now you can understand who is mainly responsible for causing the pressure gradient between the lungs and atmosphere. So who is causing the pressure gradient between the lungs and atmosphere? That is the diaphragm and specialized set of muscles, that is the external and internal intercostal muscles which are present in between the ribs. So how these diaphragm and the specialized set of muscles are bringing the inspiration and expiration. So let us study that one. So the diaphragm and external and internal intercostal muscles mainly brings the pressure gradient in between the lungs and atmosphere. So with these two, that is the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, how the inspiration and the expiration is caused, let us see. So first what happens, the diaphragm, that is in the original position, the diaphragm will be in the dome shaped. So in the first step, the diaphragm gets contracted. So when the diaphragm gets contracted, it increases the thoracic volume in the direction of anterior and posterior axis only. So contraction of the diaphragm makes the thoracic volume to get increased only in the anterior and posterior axis. So next what happens, once the diaphragm gets contracted, the next turn is the contraction of external intercostal muscles. So this contraction of intercostal muscles, that is the external intercostal muscles, lifts the ribs and sternum in the upward condition. So contraction of external intercostal muscles lifts the ribs and sternum in upward direction. So this movement of the ribs and sternum in the upward direction increases the thoracic volume at dorsal and ventral axis. So when contraction of the diaphragm is seen, thoracic volume increased only in the anterior and posterior axis. So when the sternum and the ribs moved in the upward condition because of the contraction of external intercostal muscles. So this external intercostal muscles contraction made the thoracic volume to increase its size in the dorsoventral axis. So the thoracic volume now it has increased in the anterior and posterior axis, and it even increased in the dorsal and ventral axis. So in all the direction, the volume of thoracic chamber is increased due to the contraction of the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. So can you recall when I was telling the location of the lungs that is present in the thoracic chamber or airtight chamber, I made a note that any change in the volume of thoracic chamber will bring even the change in the volume of the pulmonary volume, that is the lung volume. So now what happens? Thoracic chamber has increased, so it should show the changes even with respect to the volume of lungs also. So when the thoracic volume gets increased, the next step is the lung volume, that is the pulmonary volume also gets increased. Okay, so before I go to the next point, I want to take an example. Take the two containers. Consider container A and container B. In the container A, pour 500 ml of water. And remember, I have given you the same size containers. To the container A, pour 500 ml of water. Then to the next container, that is container B, I will give you 1 liter of water and you are going to pour it. So here when you pour 1 liter of water to the container B, the container B gets completely filled. Means what is the volume of the container? That container have the capacity of 1 liter. Means what the container I had given, that is the A and B, it can fill 1 liter of water. Okay, take the container A. For the container A, I had given you 500 ml of water. When you pour 500 of ml water to the container A, what happens? It will be half filled. The container A gets half filled. Now, what I want to say is, the size of the container A is more when you compare it to the quantity of the water. So, now let us move on to our mechanism of breathing, but keep this example in your mind. So, first I said the contraction of the diaphragm made the thoracic volume to get increased in anterior and posterior axis. Then the contraction of external intercostal muscles made the thoracic volume to increase in dorsoventral axis. So in all the direction the thoracic volume has increased. So this increase in the volume of thoracic chamber will bring the increase even in the pulmonary volume also. So now thoracic volume is increased, pulmonary volume is increased, but the pressure what was there in the lungs before it gets increased to now to the increased pulmonary volume, that particular pressure which was remaining before the lung size get increased, that particular pressure becomes now less than the atmosphere. So once again I will tell, the increase in the volume of a thoracic chamber increases the pulmonary volume. The increase in the pulmonary volume decreases the intrapulmonary pressure less than the atmosphere. So I had told you, I had given you the same two containers which has a capacity to fill 1 liter of water. But to the container A, I had given you only 500 ml of water. So when you pour 500 ml of water to the container A, it gets halfly filled. So it means the size is more, but water quantity became less. The same thing happened in the mechanism of breathing also. So when the pulmonary pressure becomes less, that is when the pulmonary volume gets increased, obviously the pressure within the lungs becomes less. So before only I have told, here the pressure gradient, it is mainly caused in between the lungs and the atmosphere. So now the pulmonary pressure which becomes less, it is compared with the pressure of atmosphere. So now the lung pressure becomes less and the atmospheric pressure is more. So obviously what happens? Where the concentration is more, where the pressure is more, from that region where the pressure is less, it will move on to from higher region to the lower region. So where the pressure is less, it is less in the lungs. Where the pressure is more, it is more in the atmosphere. So this, it is making the negative impression with respect to the pressure gradient in between the lungs and atmosphere. That's why from the atmosphere the air rushes inside the lungs. When the air rushes inside the lungs, when the air enters inside the lungs, that is only the first step of the breathing, that is the inspiration, or what we can call it as inhalation. So next is expiration. So in the inspiration what happened? First the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles had contracted. So now to cause expiration, the contracted diaphragm and intercostal muscles will become relaxed. So when the diaphragm and intercostal muscles relaxes, that makes the diaphragm to retain its original position, that is the dome shaped or arc shape. Then even intercostal muscles had contracted during inspiration. So during expiration what happens? They become relaxed. So even the relaxation of intercostal muscles makes the sternum and ribs to move in the downward direction. In case of inspiration they had moved in the upward direction. So now they moved in the downward direction. So this downward movement of ribs, sternum and the retain of the original position of the diaphragm makes the thoracic volume to get decreased. So again recall the human respiratory system, that is the change in the volume of thoracic chamber will be reflected even the change on the pulmonary volume. So now what happens? The thoracic volume is decreased. So with respect to pulmonary volume what happens? The pulmonary volume also gets decreased. So now again take the example of container A and B. So now take the container B. I had given you the container which has the capacity to fill 1 liter of water, and to the same container I had given you to pour 1 liter of water. When you poured 1 liter of water to the container B, completely the container gets filled. Now the same container B, if I reduce the size of that container B, what happens? The quantity of the water is more. The volume of the container gets decreased. When the container size gets decreased, the quantity of water is more. So what happens when the water becomes more than the container, water starts pouring or it starts flowing out. So now what happens? See here, in case of the relaxation of the diaphragm and intercostal muscles makes the thoracic volume to get decreased. So decreased thoracic volume decreases the pulmonary volume. So when the pulmonary volume gets decreased, the pulmonary pressure, that is the intrapulmonary pressure, becomes more compared with the atmosphere. So the decrease in the pulmonary volume increases the pulmonary pressure than the atmosphere. So now the pressure is more inside the lungs. In the atmosphere the pressure is less. So from higher region the pressure of air moves out to the atmospheric pressure. The release of or moving out of air from the lungs to the atmosphere, that itself is called as the expiration. So here you can see the diaphragm which had contracted and made its shape as flattened during inspiration. Now the diaphragm has relaxed. When it has relaxed, it attains the arc shape or dome shape. Then the ribs and sternum, they had moved in the inspiration, they had moved in the upward direction, but now they have regained the original position. So this too makes the thoracic volume to gets decreased. When the thoracic volume gets decreased, the size of lungs also gets decreased. When the size of the lungs gets decreased, the pressure within the lungs gets increased. So now what happens? Size is less, the pressure is more compared to the atmosphere. So from the lungs, the pressure comes out to the atmosphere. So this moving the air out from the lungs to the atmosphere itself called as expiration. In the healthy human beings, the breathing movement for a minute, it will be 12 to 16 times. So this breathing movements can be estimated by using the instrument called spirometer. So next we shall move on to respiratory volumes and capacity. After the mechanism of breathing, the next topic is the respiratory volumes and capacities. So in this topic you are learning some the terminologies where they explain about the breathing rates, how it will be different from the normal respiration with the forcible respiration. Normal respiration means when your body is in the resting condition. For example, when you are sitting, when you are sleeping, all these are considered as the normal resting position. Forcible respiration means when you have given your body physical exercises. So during that physical exercises, the respiration what will be observed, it is called as the forcible respiration. So in this first you are going to study the first terminologies, that is the tidal volume. So what is this tidal volume? Remember, this tidal volume is denoted as the TV. Generally you are going to observe the tidal volume when a body is in the resting position. When a body is in the resting position, I have called it as the normal respiration. Normal respiration means it includes normal inspiration plus normal expiration. Here the tidal volume is the volume of air inspired or expired during the normal respiration. So when a body is not given any physical exercises, when the body is in the resting position, the amount of air which enters or which comes out from the body that during a normal respiration is called the tidal volume. So here for a healthy person, the tidal volume approximately it will be 500 ml, but this tidal volume you can calculate it for a minute. How you are going to calculate it for a minute? You already know the breathing time for a minute. How many times you are going to breathe for a minute? That is 12 to 16 times. So for this breathing movement for a minute, if you multiply it with the tidal volume, that is the 500, you are going to get the tidal volume for a minute, which ranges between 6000 to 8000 ml. In liters it is 6 to 8 liters. So the next one is inspiratory reserve volume. So here it is denoted as IRV. So what is this inspiratory reserve volume? So now normally you will respire. You are going to take the amount of air inside. Once the air enters, some more amount of air you are going to take in, or once the air enters after your normal respiration, once the air enters, normally when you inspire, some more amount of air enters inside your lungs. So that amount of air which enters inside, so that condition it is called as inspiratory reserve volume. It means in your lungs there will be always some space which will be reserved for taking the forcible air inside. So how you are going to define it? And remember, this inspiratory reserve volume, it includes the normal inspiration plus forcible inspiration. Okay. So the inspiratory reserve volume is defined as the additional volume of air a person can inspire by a forcible inspiration. So once you have taken the air inside in the normal condition, that is in the resting position, again some more amount of air enters. Then this condition of the air which entered to your lungs, that is called as inspiratory reserve volume. So here your lungs are having the capacity to take the air inside even with the forcible inspiration. So here IRV, it ranges between 2.5 liter to 3 liters. In ml it is 2500 to 3000. So the next one is expiratory reserve volume. So here it is the reverse of inspiratory reserve volume. So here expiratory reserve volume is denoted as the ERV. We are going to define it as the additional volume of air a person can expire by a forcible expiration. So here it includes normal expiration plus forcible expiration, means you have given some amount of the air from the lungs to the atmosphere. You have sent the air from the lungs to the atmosphere. Some more if you want to breathe out. So that particular amount of the air which is breathed out. So that is called as the expiratory reserve volume. So expiratory reserve volume means the additional volume of air a person can expire by forcible expiration. It means you are going to throw out some of the air from your lungs to the atmosphere. With forcibly, some more amount of the air from your lungs enters to the atmosphere. So this condition is called as expiratory reserve volume. So here expiratory reserve volume, with the short form you can call normal expiration plus forcible expiration. So here ERV, it averages from 1 liter to 1.1 liter. In ml it is 1000 ml to 1100 ml. Then the next one is residual volume. So residual volume, you know the meaning of the volume. Residual resides. Okay, remember this one. Why I am telling residual resides? Because one more thing you remember, our lungs will never be empty. Remember it. Why? Our lungs cannot be empty because in the lungs, with the help of alveoli, continuous gas exchange will be observed. That's why our lungs won't be empty any time. Then what here the residual volume is defined as the volume of air that remains in the lungs even after forcible exhalation. So previous to the residual volume, you have studied expiratory reserve volume. You have given some amount of the air out with a normal respiration. Some more when you give, that is called forcible expiration. After your ERV also, still some amount of the air will be remaining in your lungs. So the amount of the air which is remaining inside your lungs, that amount is only called as the residual volume. So expiratory reserve volume, you are going to breathe out the amount of air with normal respiration. Some more when you give out, that is forcible expiration. Okay, then after normal expiration plus forcible expiration, still some amount of the air will be remaining in our lungs. So the amount of the air which is remained in our lungs even after the forcible expiration or the exhalation, it is called as the residual volume. It means our lungs are having the capacity to reside some amount of the air in the lungs itself even after the forcible expiration. The next one it is inspiratory capacity. So before I switch on to the inspiratory capacity, here remember, with the help of all these volumes, that is the tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume and the residual volume, they are going to calculate the respiratory capacities. So here some amount of the volumes are going to give the particular capacity. Okay, so in that the first one is inspiratory capacity. So what is this inspiratory capacity? So normally I will tell with the common, not like the textbook definition. Generally we breathe. Yes, okay. Normal breathing means it is a tidal volume. You can switch to the first one, that is the tidal volume. Here a tidal volume, the amount of the air which is inspired or expired during the normal respiration. So during the normal respiration or along with the normal respiration, forcefully some amount of the air enters inside. During your normal respiration, forcefully some amount of the air enters inside. Then the normal respiration as well as the forceful inspiration gives you the inspiratory capacity. Okay. So once again I will explain it with a definition. Inspiratory capacity is defined as the total volume of air person can inspire after a normal expiration. After a normal expiration means some amount of the air is going to enter inside. After the expiration, next step is inspiration. So here after a normal expiration, some amount of the air is entering inside. Along that to how it is entering with forceful. Then along with this forceful inspiration, normal respiration also will be there, normal expiration also will be there, normal inspiration is also there. Normal inspiration, normal expiration plus forceful inspiration. So all these together it is called as inspiratory capacity. So the total volume of air a person can inspire after a normal expiration is called as inspiratory capacity. So I have told inspiratory capacity, it includes the normal respiration plus forceful inspiration. Okay, so here normal respiration means we are going to call it as the tidal volume. Forceful inspiration means it is nothing but IRV. So now I am going to give a word to you all. Inspiratory capacity can be calculated by the addition of tidal volume and inspiratory reserve volume. So when you studied the respiratory volumes, you have come to know the normal range of the tidal volume as well as IRV. Tidal volume for here, don't consider the tidal volume for a minute, for one time. What was the tidal volume? It is 500 ml and the IRV is ranging from 2500 to 3000. So when you add the tidal volume as well as the inspiratory reserve volume, you are going to get the inspiratory capacity. So please, you need to add the tidal volume and the range of IRV. Then you may get the values, that is 3000 to 3500. So here inspiratory capacity ranges between 3 to 3.5 liters. After inspiratory capacity, the next respiratory capacity is the expiratory capacity. So here, inspiratory capacity, it includes the tidal volume and inspiratory reserve volume. So expiratory capacity includes the tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume. Here expiratory capacity, it includes the normal breathing, that is the normal respiration, plus the forceful expiration. So how we are going to define this expiratory capacity is the total volume of air a person can expire after a normal inspiration. So after in the normal respiration, once the air enters inside, again the amount of the air which is thrown out, which is expired, so that total volume where a person is going to expire after the normal inspiration is called the expiratory capacity. So here this includes tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume. So you already know the tidal volume, that is 500 ml, and expiratory reserve volume where it ranges between 1000 to 1100 ml. So you need to find the expiratory capacity where it almost ranges between 1500 to the 1600 ml. So the next capacity is functional residual capacity. So here functional residual capacity means during the resting condition we are going to observe this functional residual capacity, where it is defined as the volume of air that remains in the lungs after normal expiration. Then now you may be getting a doubt, then what is the residual volume? What is the functional residual capacity? So remember, functional residual capacity will be seen in the person where the body is in resting condition, where they are undergoing the normal respiration, whereas the residual volume will be seen in the people where the body will be given the physical exercise, means the forceful respiration will be taken place. So in such condition we are going to observe the residual volume, but now here where the body is in the resting condition, so we are going to observe the functional residual capacity. It means the air is remained in the lungs only after the normal expiration, means even though you have given some amount of the air from the lungs to the atmosphere, but still some amount of the air will be remaining in the lungs. So that remained amount of the air is called the functional residual capacity. So here I have already told our lungs cannot be empty, because in the lungs continuous gas exchange will be taking place. So our lungs will not be empty any time. So here functional residual capacity, it includes the residual volume, but here I had told you before only, this functional residual capacity, it is observed only in the normal respiration, that is normal expiration. Soon after you are giving the air from the lungs to the atmosphere, still some amount of the air which remains, so that is called the functional residual capacity. So it includes the residual volume and expiratory reserve volume. So you know the residual volume as well as expiratory reserve volume. So you need to calculate now the functional residual capacity. Residual volume, it ranges between 1100 to 1200, whereas ERV, it ranges between 1000 to 1100. So you can calculate now the FRC, where it ranges from 2100 ml to 2000 300 ml. So the next capacity is the vital capacity. So here the vital capacity, it is defined as the maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after forced expiration. And remember, it can even be defined as the maximum volume of air a person can breathe out after a forced inspiration. In both the reverse condition, you can even define the vital capacity. So here the amount of the air where the lungs are going to take the air inside after the expiration. Which expiration? Forceful expiration, means with force they have given, with the forceful the air has come out from the lungs to the atmosphere. Soon after that, the maximum amount, means how much it is possible, that much the lungs are going to take the air from the atmosphere to the lungs. So this tells the vital capacity. So here the vital capacity, it includes the tidal volume, that is the normal breathing, then the forceful inspiration as well as the forceful expiration. So again you need to calculate the tidal capacity ranges between, so you know all the values of tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume and expiratory reserve volume, right? All those three ranges, but remember tidal volume you need to keep it as 500 ml only. 6000 to 800 we have calculated it for a minute. So when you calculate by taking the tidal volume as 500 and IRB as 2500 to 3000 and the ERB as 1000 to 1100, the vital capacity, it ranges from 4000 to 4600 ml. So the next capacity is the total lung capacity. So here the total lung capacity means the name of the capacity itself tells the lung capacity, means how much, what is the capacity of our lungs to accommodate the air. The total volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forced inspiration. So here what is the lung capacity, what is the total lung capacity, means how much our lungs are having the capacity to accommodate the air after the forced inspiration. So that is called the total lung capacity, where it includes the residual volume and vital capacity. Or in another way you can also calculate by adding the tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume, inspiratory reserve volume and the residual volume. So when you add only the residual volume and the vital capacity, that also ranges between 5100 to 5800 ml. When you add the TV, ERV, IRV and the RV, at that time also you are going to get the same range, that is 5100 to 5800 ml. So remember these respiratory volumes and capacities. In females it will be less when you compare to the males. How much percent it will be less in females? When you compare to the males, 25 to 30% we are going to observe less in the females. Then these volumes and capacities, they will be varying in athletes. So whatever, students remember, whatever will be written on the board, you need to take it at a stretch, so one after the other topic, whatever will be written on the board, you need to write it in your biology notebook. It will be useful when you are preparing for your exams. So thank you.